Minneapolis burns. Minneapolis is burning down because of riots that have come in response to this video. It's gone viral. This is the police-involved killing of George Floyd. I think at this point, we've probably all seen the video. People are talking about this mostly from a political perspective or a social perspective or the perspective of civil unrest. I've heard very little analysis on the actual killing itself. I've heard very little analysis from the perspective of law enforcement or the actual arrest. Fortunately, we are joined now by someone who can offer some of that perspective, a very prominent YouTuber who is also, or was, a patrol officer and SWAT team member, now serves as public information officer. This is Officer401. You've probably seen the videos. If you haven't yet, we will get a law enforcement perspective on the arrest itself. Officer401, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me, sir.
So, officer, when you look at the video itself, can you take us through what the arrest should have looked like, what it did look like, what you're seeing that maybe the rest of us who are just laymen or civilians are missing?
He was very calm. It was there was no rush to render any sort of aid to him or to check on his well-being. I'm not sure what he was waiting for, but the fact that his knee was on this guy's neck for an extended amount of time is completely unacceptable. Once he was secured properly with handcuffs, he should have been at least rolled over to his stomach, if not taken up off the ground and put on his feet.
When you see these videos, you just never know, because there have been cases where people have said, this is a clear example of police brutality, and then some new evidence will emerge, and you'll say, oh, okay, actually, maybe it wasn't police brutality. But this one seemed pretty clear cut. I mean, it seemed like the officer was clearly in the wrong here. And that seems to be what you were observing as well. How prevalent is this? What should be done in this case? What is usually done in this case? I mean, can you pull back the curtain a little bit on maybe what comes next?
Well, I recently, actually yesterday, I put out another video about, the perspective from cell phones doesn't always tell the entire story.
Yeah.
There was a recent case in Delaware where somebody recorded a man that was apparently being beaten by two police officers. And when you watch the actual body cam footage that was released after that, it tells the entire story. Unfortunately, with the case with George Floyd, really no matter which angle you look at it, it's wrong. And it's a sad day for law enforcement. And, you hear, people saying that cops have each other's backs and this and that. And that's really not true, because even today, being at the police department, everybody's just shaking their heads at how negligent this was for that officer and how it paints a depiction for all of us when that's very much not the case.
That does seem to be why these particular very sad cases crop up so much and become sensationalized. It seems they become sensationalized precisely because they are rare, and you don't see viral videos of the vast majority of law enforcement officers who are doing their jobs and keeping communities safe. Even getting past the prevalence here or, how widespread a problem is, because I think the statistics are pretty clear on it. What do you make of images that we saw last night of the police precinct burning to the ground, rioters burning the place down, and the elected politicians basically saying, yeah, officers should stand down, abandon the building, and let the riots burn?
Well, it's kind of, you're kind of between a rock and a hard place. Well, I am, as far as my opinion, just because I understand why people are protesting. I get that. I think that people have gotten to the point where they feel that their voices aren't being heard loud enough, so they're going to extreme measures to make sure they're heard. Unfortunately, those extreme measures are costing other people's lives and livelihoods that had nothing to do with the incident. You have to judge the officers on a case-by-case basis. You can't do it, as an overall. And certainly burning down a police department is not going to be beneficial to your cause.
Right. Very quickly, we've got about 30 seconds left, but I know that this officer who was involved has now been arrested. He's going to be charged. What is the crime here? How do you see it playing out?
I see it as homicide. I mean, there really, to me, there is no other way. I mean, it's murder all day long. There is no other way. I've been doing this for 12 and a half years. I have experience on SWAT. This all day long, to me, is murder. He never even checked the well-being of his suspect, and that's our job. When we have somebody in custody, it is our responsibility to ensure their well-being and safety.
Yep, it seems pretty clear-cut, but I'm glad that we can get the perspective of someone who actually knows what he's talking about here to back that up. Officer 401, go check him out on YouTube. Videos are very informative. Officer, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me, sir.